Hi, this is Muthu Sungaram again. Today is session 8, Business Incubation Financing Part 2. As always, since you'll be spending the next 20 minutes or so with me, I like you to make a note. What would you like to achieve on this session? So I'm going to keep quiet for 30 seconds. Let's move on to our first slide for today. Let's look at the resources Incubator needs. Incubator needs three resources. One, the expertise, it needs facilities, and it needs investment. The expertise you bring to the incubator through your network. So, mentors, consultants, technology experts, you bring them through your network. The second part, the facilities you need for prototyping, product research, and development. This is where you need to take your product to your customers, vendors, and its sponsors. So, you will bring these facilities from outside to help you. And the third is the investment. So here you would look at people who would give you some money, venture capital, angel investors, friends, family, and prepaid customers, which is becoming popular now, and also government grants. So these are some of the things you need as resources for your incubator. Now, what is so important is the cash flow management. The better you are able to manage your cash flow, there is better chance the company has for survival. What does the cash flow mean? It means what's coming in and what's going out. You should always have more coming in and less going out. And this is like a lifeline for a company. You have no cash flow, you need to close down. So therefore, it's so important for all of us, not only the incubatees, even for the incubator, to learn how to manage its cash flow. Unless it's able to manage its cash flow, it's going to not be able to survive. This is to ensure the company must be able to manage the risks in cash resources. So that is how a company would last longer, by being able to manage its resources. Many of these companies go bankrupt or out of business because they have poor cash flow management. Please understand, cash flow is not the same as profit to your organization. It's not income. Cash flow is how much money you have to survive, liquid cash. Now, key points on cash management. A startup is not well established when you start. So it will be difficult for you to financially sustain your finances. So you need to plan. You're out of business when you are out of cash. It's very important. I said that in the last slide. So you should always have positive cash flow in order to sustain. Negative cash flow will lead you to closure of your business, which is something you don't want to do. A lot, actually, majority of the startups closed down because they had poor cash flow management. The startup can gain investors based on the confidence they built in managing your finances. If you're able to manage them well, you will be able to convince a investor to help you to fund your organization. So that's another thing you want to look at. When you start your startup, the conceptual phase, the entrepreneur has low or no financials during this time. So what do? Use your own money, or you borrow some money from friends and family in order to get this going. And at this stage, this is how you have to manage it in order to attract investors to come. So in order for you to do that, you need to be able to cash flow sustain. It is important to be efficient, then only you'll be able to expand and conserve the financial resources. Unless you're able to sustain, you will not be able to get investors. So the longevity of a company depends on how well you manage your. Now, what do you need in the birth phase? This is where you need to be able to gain initial customers who will give you some money, who will pay for your services. You need to be able to offer and develop services as the customer demand. Otherwise, the customer is not going to pay for your services. End of the day, it's not how brilliant your product is, how much a customer will pay for it, or how many people will buy it. So that's what you need to be focusing on, your customers, your offerings, what you're offering. Entrepreneurs should be able to achieve progress in product development and financial stability then only you'll be able to attract investors. So this is something important. Next, in your growth phase, why do you need money? You need money to take your business beyond just sustaining. You need to be able to make money, because the whole idea of doing your business is to be able to make some profits. So if you're just going to be sustaining, then you're going to be struggling. So you need to make sure that you're able to surpass that sustaining business and getting into profitability. This requires resources for your products, services, in order to expand your customer base. So you need to be constantly revolving, looking at new ideas. And the positive outcome is when the startup is financially viable and fulfills the non-financial and financial goals. So this could take you some time, and this is called the growth phase. Now, how do you fund yourself? First, you look at personal funding. Then you look at grants. Then you look at angels, people who would be willing to bet on your idea. Then you go to venture capital. Then you go to corporate investors. Finally, you go to private investors. And of course, you can always get a bank loan if you're profitable. So these are some of the ways to fund your business. So as now we talked about three phases: conception, birth, and growth. During conception, we need to look at family, friends, sales, and grants. At the growth, we look at maybe angels, prepaid customers, and cash flow management. Very, very important. Finally, at the growth stage, you need to do equity exchange for investors, private investors, and bank loans is how you start to grow. Obstacles in gaining financing for SMEs. First one is a mismatch between you and your investor. So the investor doesn't understand what you're trying to do, and you don't understand what the investor wants to do. So this is very, very important. Before you pitch, you should understand what you're trying to do, and you should understand your investor. So this makes it easy. Next, always remember, it's very high risk, especially with a small business, as it is a very competitive environment right now. And the last one, you lack collaterals. So that makes it difficult for you to do many, many things. So these are some of the obstacles. Now, the risk associated with funding sources through self-funding family and friends. This might not be able to produce adequate cash flow to sustain the business. It should only get you started. It is common for all incubators to run out of cash, incubatees, and possibly incubators too, to run out of cash. So they should always figure out how they are going to sustain. And the next thing they need to look at expectations from the source of funding. What does your funder want you to do? For example, if you're getting a grant, unless you get a following grant, you need to know what that last grant is supposed to do. And you must overachieve what you have agreed to do in order for you to get some more funding from them. So these are some of the activities which we need to look at. Now, risk exposure with grants and government loan. Here, you need to spend a lot of time. It's a lengthy process. You need to write lots of documents trying to achieve what the government is trying to do in order to get the money. The entrepreneur's cash and time will be consumed because it takes a whole lot of, sometimes it can take even 18 months to get a grant. But you have to keep writing them, presenting it, convincing the granting body that's what you are doing is what is valuable. So the action required to accomplish government needs might be misaligned with the requirements of your venture. So, and many is the time that requires the entrepreneur to justify, ignoring the actual requirement of the venture. And once you take a grant, you cannot spend the money outside what you had promised to do. So it is very strict. So you need to be able to manage those things. So these are the risks you associate with taking a grant. Now, what is the risk associated with taking angels? Angels can fund you at the start. As you progress, they may not have large enough funds to keep you going. So that is something you need to be cautious about. Might lack to provide the expertise that is required for entrepreneur from their investor. Many people today have spare cash but not have the expertise of what you're doing. So they might just put in the cash because the news is startups make big money. You can become rich. So many people try to put money hoping to become rich. So that could be a wrong choice for you. Now, associated with debt suppliers, here you need to pay back the money. So the you may not be able to pay the debts, which means the results in liquidation. So you go bankrupt. You have to close down because you have no money to pay back. Debt financing will not be an option without adequate collateral because you need to pay back these. These are not money you don't have to pay back. These have to be returned, and you have to be able to manage them on timely basis to pay it back. So these are some of the risks you will face. And if you don't pay it back on time, you will end up paying even more and more on interest. So you need to be cautious about things. Now, credit crunch during conception and firm birth stage. During credit crunch, the financial security becomes harder as the debt amount and the equity of the company diminishes. So as you start to have crunch, your debts are increasing. So you need to be careful with this. This occurs when the economy of the startup does not have a sign of recovery, thus making the investor to become more cautious investing. It is important for the incubator to position itself to become in a way it can help and attract investors. Now, financial strategies during credit crunch. First of all, you need to have discipline in financial management. You must be able to cut out unnecessary expenses. You have to be extremely disciplined. You may have to outsource some of your activities because it might be cheaper. Like, for example, you might have to work from home or go out to a co-working space and give away your rental property because there's more costs. So that is something you need to be very well capable of doing. You should follow the actions started by the government to lower credit crunch impacts. You need to follow through what is able. You need to gather additional resources from friends and families as short-term capital. Should work aggressively for revenues, can lessen the expenses, and you need to be able to increase your input. So you need to be able to generate more revenue to be able to break even. Now, enhancing incubator capacity to assist in financing and management of a client. So one of the roles the incubator should do, it should be able to help the incubator. So we need to hire incubator managers who have literacy over financial management. So they're able to teach and train the incubators what they have to do. They should be able to counsel and mentor them on financial management. Incubator staff can be trained by experts to use management tools and plan to assist the incubator in financial management. So the entire team in the incubator should be able to understand the financials. How does financial management work? So they'll be able to participate and help the startups to be a better position. So that is something you want to do. And assisting financial management to incubators, we are experts. Your startups, your incubator staff should be able to request and get counsels from people who are very good in financial management. They should be able to involve experts who can help into extending how to cash flow manage to the incubators. The experts can be experts in tax, accounting, financial management, debts, government, whatever, that they will be able to help you. There are people who are specialized in helping startups uh, raise grant money. There are startups who will link you to investors, not startups, sorry, consultants, experts. So the incubator should have access and knowledge of these people so they are able to help and guide the incubators. Now, interventions has to be given when there's issues. The incubators during crisis. So the incubator should be able to support in experts to intervene and help them. This can happen when the incubator is in the process of starting to seek potential investors. So they need some time to carry over. So this is where the experts can help them. The incubators might seek help in dealing with financials as they are short of cash. So an expert should be able to tell them how they could get this cash to be able to move to the next stage. In such cases, the incubator staff can connect the incubators with experts from the extended network to assist the incubators. So unless the incubator knows how to do this, they will not be able to help the incubators. So that's something which is important for the incubators to make sure they're in the right incubator so the incubator can help them. So that's something you want to ensure happens. And you should always advise startups to have board of advisors. Why? Because these advisors can help them manage financials. They can guide them, teach them how they can keep the financial management within the organization well. The board can include individuals who have prior experience in raising funds. So they know what are the things to do, what not to do to raise money. So they'll be able to work, help, and assist in recruiting a coach for the same time. Experts should be willing to coach the incubators on financial management. So this is what the job of an expert should be, to guide, help, support, and so forth. Now, practices for financial management. First thing, it's important to develop financial management ability of the incubator through seminars by experts from incubator extended network. So we should constantly run events to help the incubators learn how to manage. Incubators should engage the incubators with investors to learn about the investors' expectations and practice pitches. So you can take your incubator to the right incubator to the right investors instead of taking it to the wrong investors, and also finding out whether the investors are really investing. Many of the time investors are just wanting to check out what's happening. So that's something the incubator must remove the noisy ones, the noisy investors. So there is only noise, there's no investment. So that's something we need to work on. These activities will increase the incubator's capability and skills in managing the fitness. It is significant for an incubator to increase the processes which enhance the financials to help the incubator. So this is something incubator must do. Attributes the investor looking for. One, they're looking at the idea or the product, whether it is a good product. And then a good product does not solve the problem. Does it have market opportunities? Is there desirable capital return? Why do people put money? They put money so they can make money. So nobody puts money for the sake of just putting money. They're putting money in to make money. So we need to make sure that that is there. And the quality of the management team. If the team is a good team, the investor feels confident to put money. There must be clear, logical financial plans in place so the investor understands what you're going to deliver. The business plan must be there. It must be practical and assuring. And the plans which are for operation. All this has to be delivered to the investor. So the investor feels confident in actually supporting the incubatee. Now, approaches to build financial model. First thing, you need to build the cost and revenue starting from the smallest units. So they need to start with little and increase it. And determine the various aspects of revenue like customers, price, etc. All this must get into the financial model. You must perform assumption validation. You can't just say, oh, for this. You need to validate why. If you're going to sell this to 10% of the population, how much is the 10% population? We have 1,000 people there. 10% is 100. So we sell 100 units. Will it be okay for us? The assumption is 10%. Was the 10% the right assumption? So if it doesn't work, then you need to relook at these assumptions. You need to be able to maintain a plan which you can scale your products. And also, lastly, testing various cases to compare the cost percentage to the industry standards. Are you being more expensive than others? So you need to look at all that. Now, effective ways to manage cash flow. You need to have great planning. You need to effectively, efficiently plan your activities in order to generate cash, and also the burning. You need to make sure the burning is very well thought through, well maintained. The lower the burn rate, the longer you last. Effective maintenance, optimal amount of cash flow. So you need to make sure you have enough cash. You must be always looking at raising funds, and you must be able to disperse the cash gradually. Just because you raise money doesn't mean you're going to spend it unnecessarily. You need to plan. You should always be able to collect faster than paying, which means you have a better cash flow. So these are some of the things you need to do. What is the key elements in business? Of course, you need to give a service or a product to solve a problem. Customer for the business, you need to create customers. There must be market opportunities, otherwise there's no point. Next thing is the competitors. You need to look at them. They are very important. If the competitor is constantly beating you to it, you're going to not able to sell your thing, your products. So you will not be able to generate income. So your cash flow goes to problem. You need to look at the quality of the team. All team members should have entrepreneurial attitude. They may not be entrepreneurs, but they should have entrepreneurial attitude. Very important. Another key element in the business is to look at your financials. And now last, but the growth rate of the business. You should forecast how you're going to grow and so forth. Now, what is next? You've listened to me for the last 20 minutes. You need to identify your key takeaway from this 20 minutes. How does it relate to you? That's the first part. The second part, and most important, how are you going to share this with others? So we build our knowledge base, our ecosystem, and so forth. And we, as usual, will acknowledge that we've made references to the InfoDev Business Information Toolkit. So we have taken some information from there while preparing this presentation. Now, thank you for your participation. As usual, you know how to contact me at my email muthu.singram@mavzone. My mobile number is there, and a couple of our books on entrepreneurship and incubation. You will find them in Amazon if you put my name in. And of course, you know my YouTube channel because you are watching it on my YouTube channel. I thank you very much, and I will be back next week with another topic. And I hope you've enjoyed so far the series. We have done 8 of them so far. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of them. Anything, please reach out. I'd be happy to give you my feedback and also to work with anybody who in this area. Thank you very much.